We're going to talk for a little while about film acting, of which I've done a little bit. And the first thing that will happen to the audience is, of course, for the rest of the day, they will be completely ignored because you don't exist. My fellow actors and I can regard you as the crew, right? And once you're in front of that camera, nobody exists. Nobody, except the other person in the scene. And what we do, we actors who are in the movie, we hang on to each other's eyes. That's the most important thing in film. Eyes, eyes. If you're fair and you've got blonde eyelashes like I have, you wear mascara, because if you have blonde eyelashes and you're in a movie, you might as well be in a radio play. In the cinema, it's a very, very infinitesimal space you have in which to work. So this is our movie camera here, and we use that as the movie camera all through this show. So what I'd like someone to do is to put down a mark for me. Is there an assistant who can put down a mark for me to hit for a close-up? We just need a piece of tape or a bit of chalk or something. I thought it was going to panic everybody that I asked for something. Just, where am I? Let me just see where I am. Pull it up, the camera up a bit. Is that as high as, that's it. Just hit there. Put it on my feet there. Now I've got to come in and get to there. If I go to there, in a movie camera, I've gone through the focus, because the focus ends here, and the focus ends here, and so if I'm back here, I'm fuzzy. So the way to do that is to get on the mark, and if you're going to say a line, you go backwards. So when you go forwards, if you're going to say a line, and then you're on the mark. That's the first simple lesson. With a close-up, which I've started with close-ups because they are eventually what sells you in a movie, because people see your eyes. And I'll take my glasses off. What you get in the cinema, my friends here watch the monitor. What I often see in television or cinema is people who are looking at someone else and they change eyes. Can I have some? Come stand here, Simon. You stand off camera, and then I will look at you. Stand. Always remember, if you're doing a close-up with somebody, you are the off actor, the one who's off the set. Get as close to the lens as possible to bring the other actor around to the most advantageous for him, which is right round to the lens. So you don't pan right, cameraman, because you'll hit something. Now, you see actors, and they're acting, and they change, and it's an infinitesimal thing in the eyes, is they change eyes as they're talking. Can you see my eyes changing there?
Yes.
Just, I'm changing eyes.
Yeah.
And I'm blinking. Now, that is two of the worst things to do. First of all, you never change eyes, and what you do is you pick an eye. Now, which eye do you pick? I look at, with this eye, because the camera is there, I look at this eye, at your eye there, which brings my face, you can see. If I look with this eye at that eye, look what you get. You see the difference? But it's the same look. And if I keep blinking, it weakens me. But if I'm talking to you, and I don't blink, and I just keep going, and I don't blink, and I keep on going, and I don't blink, you start to listen to what I'm saying. And it makes me a very strong person, as opposed to someone who is sitting there going, which is someone who's completely flustered. The camera is like somebody who loves you deeply. It's the most incredible of mistresses or lovers, whichever sex you are, because it will love you forever, in spite of the fact that for the rest of your career, except on given occasions, which we will come to, you ignore it. It does not exist. You never look into it, you never know it's there. You just hold the eyes of the other person and listen. And listening is really what acting is all about for movies. It's not like the theatre. It's an entirely different situation. When I was in the theatre, I was inadvertently given some advice by the theatre producer. When very young, I was in repertory in Lowestoft. And he said to me, "What are you doing, Michael?" And I said, "Nothing, sir." He said, "What? What do you mean, nothing?" I said, "Well, I haven't got anything to say." So he said, "What do you mean you haven't got anything to say?" He said, "Of course you've got things to say. You have got wonderful things to say. But you sit there and listen, think of these extraordinary things to say, and then decide not to say them." That's what you're doing. And that is the greatest piece of advice I can give to someone who wants to act in movies, is to listen and react. But also, when you get really close to the camera, if some directors go in for a massive close-up, the thing that people never do in real life is they don't say, "Oh, I don't want to go out, I'll have the egg and chips, you know." But you will see actors doing that all the time. And so when you get in here, that doesn't look so obvious until you get in here, you know. So, but you've got to just be. There is no one here. It's just you and me. You'll be standing there. And there isn't even a camera. And you just say, "Well, no, I don't think I'll have the egg and chips. I'll have the caviar and bellinis. Shall I?" And they say, "Well, no, what do you really want?" And you say, "Well, he's not doing anything." And it's a story of Jack Lemmon, who was working with George Cukor. It was his first movie, and he come from Broadway, theatre, and he kept doing it, a scene. George would say, "Cut, less, Jack, less." Jack would do it again. George, "Cut, less, less." Again, "Cut, less." And Jack finally said, "Look, if I do any less, I'll be doing nothing." And George said, "Now you've got it." But there is a sort of feeling that you have to get. Just stand up. It's a feeling that you have to get. It's just the two of us talking to each other.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? Yeah. And the moment I'm saying it's just the two of us talking to each other, I know I'm doing it for all these people out here.
Yeah.
And I've even said to a director, he said, "I didn't see that, Michael. I didn't see that on that take." And I said, "Where were you sitting?" He said, "There." I said, "How are you going to see it? The lens is here." You know? And so what you're doing, and the test for this is like, supposing you were rehearsing a scene. So I'm standing here talking to you, and we're rehearsing a scene, and the director comes up, or assistant director or someone, will come up and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I see you're rehearsing," and he goes away. If he can see that we are rehearsing, then we're not doing it right. What should happen is we should be talking just to each other.
Yeah.
And the director, the assistant or the friend or other actor should come up and join in the conversation as though it's a real conversation. And you say, "We're rehearsing." And they say, "Oh, I didn't realise." Okay? Has anybody got any questions?
How do you achieve your sense of relaxation? By just feeling concentrated and...
It's concentrated, and you know that you have no enemies. Everybody's on your side. The camera is like a belt or a net behind you. And someone's standing behind you and saying, "Look, you can relax, it's okay. You don't have to push it." Like, say, in the theatre. You don't have to push it, just relax and let it come out. If you do it right for them, for this camera, it will catch you every time you fall back. It's watching you, it's your friend, it loves you, and it is listening and watching everything you do. You don't have to do it big. You don't have to shout and scream. And nobody exists except us six, right? I'm talking to you now. You got a question?
Well, I was just about the you're saying about listening and reacting to something that's going on. Now, how does that work if, for example, you've done your master shot and now you're going to go on to your close-ups, and that person is talking to you, and now you're going to do your close-up. And this close-up is like 3.5 hours after you've started the original thing. How do you get what you call the emotional recall?
That is
to actually
concentration.
Well, yes, but I mean,
that's the next thing. Is to you don't think about it for hours. You don't think. What you do is, you see, you get actors who will say, God, I saw the rushes yesterday, and I didn't like that thing where I did that, and I don't go and see rushes. I sit on the set, and I'm figuring out what I'm going to do next, right? Anybody smoke? You got a cigarette on you? You come up here and light it with me, and smoke with me, and we'll have a talk while we're talking. Yeah, I've got a light. Yeah. So now we continue this. And the thing is this, is that you concentrate on what you're doing. And you somehow, it's very difficult to explain, you go into yourself. Remember, you've still got the same person there. Although it was a long shot, if you're standing here with me and they shot it from over that camera there, this is a long shot, I was still talking to you here like this. So when the camera comes here, I'm still only doing the same thing, although I might calm it down a bit on the face because it's closer. Well, the thing you don't do in a long shot is smoke. You know why?
Yes, you can.
Because now we're going to do the close-up.
Yeah.
Where did you take the puff? We've got to do exactly the same lines. Where did you change hands just now? You've got to do it exactly the same. So everything you do, if you're going to... Come borrow a cigarette. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I'll try. So if you're going to do a long speech and you go, yes, I'll do this long speech now, and then I'll... when I say I'll take another puff. So you took another puff on another puff. And you remember that, because when it comes back to it, it's the most difficult thing to do in a master. If you start fiddling with anything, when they come into the close-up, you're doing the line and you're going, I'll tell you what I'd do. And she says, no, not there. No, you did it when I take another puff. You said, I'll take another puff. No, you did it immediately, you said puff. I'll take another puff. And the whole scene's gone out the window. And you probably have to shoot the master again. So never smoke or fiddle. And if you're going to do action and movement, plan it absolutely perfectly so that you do it exactly the same over and over again. You can change your performance, you can change, but you cannot change the action. Otherwise, the close-up, the medium shot, and the master shot do not match. And there's also with dialogue, for instance, is to learn it. You learn it until you know it, but you've got to learn it over and over and over again until you're sick of it. Until someone says something to you, you could say the whole thing, including everybody else's part. Because the tension of that actual close-up is when you're standing there and everyone goes, right, quiet, turn over, speed, action. And you go, to bum or not to bim, that is the question, and that's it. And it's up till that moment, because you're just a guy who just got up, and said, I'll have cornflakes. And what you see is a guy going, I'll have cornflakes. Because he said, turn over action, and you, unwittingly, were standing there quite calm. You knew the lines about, I'll have cornflakes. And they go, turn over, speed, action. I'll have cornflakes. And that's what you get unless you relax, you see. So when they say turnover and speed, they're talking a load of old cobblers that do with something else about motor mechanics, whatever it is they do. And the other thing is you always cheat as much as you can. Always steal, but only steal from the best people. Just steal whatever you can see. If you see Vivian Leigh do something, or you see Marlon Brando do something, or Robert De Niro or Meryl Streep, steal it. Because what you're seeing them do, they stole. You understand? But you can't see who they stole it from because they made it into themselves. And that comes to the other thing of where you get into sort of movie stardom, is you have to invent yourself. Now, movie stardom is not necessary, and from my own experience, not a lot of it is recommended. But to be a good movie actor is highly recommended, I think, because it's a delicate operation. It's like, I regard the theatre as an operation with a scalpel. I think movie acting is an operation with a laser, because it's so tiny and it's so small that half the time people say, I don't know what you're doing. And you say, wait till you see the rushes. That's what it is. Wait till
you never ever see the rushes, ever?
No, I wait for them to see the rushes. I know what they're going to see.
No, but do you ever, though, when you're filming?
No, never see the rushes. All I've ever seen from rushes is, all rushes are wonderful. Everybody buys their yachts in rushes and go bankrupt at the premiere. All rushes are wonderful. Anybody who you speak to about the rushes, if you were that foolish, says they're wonderful. But what you don't realise is you say to makeup, how was rushes? They say, wonderful. Her lipstick was just, it was wonderful. You say to hair, how was the rushes? Oh, you should have seen the parting there, it was great. Everybody watches their own thing. And if you go to rushes, you will watch yourself. And nothing else. And in actual fact, it should be a stranger to you. It's someone else. The director, if he's any good, will tell you what you will like.
You cannot bluff your emotions.
You cannot bluff this fella.
No.
Or lady. This lady here, you need do nothing.
But you must feel.
You must feel, and you must look, and you must listen, because she will see everything you do, and she will pick it up. You don't have to throw it to her, and she'll love you, even though you ignore her for the rest of your life. She'll still love you when you're 60. I'm banking on that. I'm 53.
You'll never guess who I'm calling on. Well, I wouldn't have believed it myself 3 months ago. I'm here, gal. Well, that's life, isn't it? You never know what's around the corner. Do you know what I mean? I mean, down one minute, up the next. You drop a tanner, you look around, and what'd you find? Ruby.
Hello, baby.
Hold it. Gotcha. She's in lovely condition.
Oh, what are you so impatient about?
What do you think?
Oh, no, don't kiss my hair. You know what it does to me.
Come on. What about it?
No, let's at least have a drink first. Whiskey?
Got a beer, have you? A light ale or something?
Yeah, I've probably got a beer on the ice.
She gets all this lot of income tax. Business expenses, see? She owns 3 hairdressers. The thing I like about Ruby is she's a mature woman. When she gets hold of you, you can feel a lifetime of experience in her. I find I'm going in more for that kind of woman these days. Here, don't you dig your nails in again like you did last Thursday night. I've got scratches all down my back.
Yeah, I may even do more than that to you today.
Great long wheels they are. Dug her nails right in. She's had 2 husbands, both dead. And I got a good idea what they died of and all. She don't keep asking, do you love her, like all these young birds do. She don't even mention love. She knows what she wants, and she's going to get it. If there's any going. Cheers.
Cheers.
Good. Okay. Now I'm going to set you 2 problems, all right? Can we have the movie camera in? What we're going to do is bring this right down now for reality to movie terms. Come round on a medium shot on that. And we're going to do something out of context, which is what you always have to do in a movie. There, you've got this whole thing going and flowing in the theatre, and she comes in and everything. But in a movie, you might shoot the master today, and because of economic factors or whatever, the weather or something, the sun came out and you'll go rushing out to shoot outside. Then suddenly you've got to come back and do a medium shot and a close-up right out of the blue, and you've got to bring it right down. This one is you on your own. We don't need you for a moment, darling. What you have to do now is you're not you're not my friend. You know what I mean? You did that as though we were talking to an audience.
Yeah.
It's one person. It's only one person. So what it is, let me see, where are we? See, gets all this lot off income tax. Business expenses, see? She owns 3 hairdressers. The thing I like about Ruby, she's a mature woman. When she gets hold of you, you can feel a lifetime of experience in her. I find I'm going in more for that kind of woman these days. Here, don't you dig your nails in again like you did last night. I've got wheels all down my back. You know, it's funnier if I've got scratches all down my back, and I may even do that more. It's a great long wheels they are. Dug her nails right in, and it's secret. You see, you're talking to one person.
Yeah.
That's why we've brought. We could have the camera right over there, and you could stand up, and you could address everybody.
Yeah.
What we used in Alfie was the camera as a best friend, not as an audience.
Yeah.
And remember, in movies, the camera is always your best
Yes.
friend. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what you do is relax into it. You're just talking to your best mate, that's all. Right. And you look straight at your best mate, you know, say, yeah, she gets all this lot of income tax, you know. Mm. She's got 3 hairdressers. Yeah. You know, she had 3 husbands, all dead. I think on it. You know, it's because it's not the theatre. It's just you talking to your best mate. You like him, and he likes you, and he's ready to listen to every word you've got to say, and he's very interested in you. Right. And that is your best friend. Try it again.
She gets all this lot off income tax. Business expenses, see? She owns 3 hairdressers. Now, the thing I like about Ruby is she's a mature woman. Now, when she gets hold of you, you can feel a lifetime of experience in her. I find I'm going in more for that kind of woman these days. Here, don't you dig your nails in again like you did last Thursday night. I've got scratches all down my back.
Yeah, I may even do more than that to you today.
They're great long wheels, they are. Dug her nails right in. She's had 2 husbands, both dead, and I've got a good idea what they died of and all. She don't keep asking, do you love her, like these young birds do. She don't even mention love. She knows what she wants and she's going to get it, if there's any going. Cheers.
Good, much better. Let's go in really close on that now. Now, look at the monitor.
Oh.
You see?
Right, yes.
Now, anything, if you go, oh, shit. Yeah, no faces.
Right.
No faces. Everybody pulls faces. People, when they talk to you, they don't come up and say, excuse me, could you tell me where Woolworths is? But because we are actors and we get kind of nervous, certain twitches come out in our face, or even in our bodies, you know. You'll see an actor and he's doing this because he's nervous. There's no need for any nerves. No one, everyone's there to help. Just get that smile to the camera. Say, yeah, she had 3 husbands, 2 husbands, both dead. And it's funny to you because I have a bleeding good idea what they died of and all.
Yeah.
You see? Yeah. And it's to a mate. See? Where's that camera? She's had 2 husbands, both dead. And I have a bleeding good idea what they died of and all. Yeah. And this is a big thing because, you know, they died because she's in a bleeding kit, you know? Right. I mean, this is the... So it's just very intimate. Now, have a look at your close-up again. Yeah. You don't have to do anything except show with your eyes that you think this is bleeding funny. 2 of them dead and you know what they died of, Christ. You know? Right. Try again.
She gets all this lot off income tax. Business expenses, see? She owns 3 hairdressers. Now, the thing I like about Ruby is she's a mature woman. Now, when she gets hold of you, you can feel a lifetime of experience in her.
Slow down. It's your mate. It is willing to listen to you.
Yeah.
Just slow down, say. When she gets hold of you, you feel a lifetime of experience in her hands, you know? It's you know, it's the 2 boys talking together, all, you know, great bird, this one, you know. So you can go a lot slower.
Right.
Each single person, the reason this was done on the movie...
It's got to feel like my best mate.
Each single person must feel that they are not an audience, they're sitting there in the dark, and there's this man telling them what he thinks And it's rather funny and it's amusing and they rather like him and he likes them.
Yeah.
Right, let's have one more go. One more go.
Guess all this lot off income tax. Business expenses, see? She owns 3 hairdressers. Now, the thing I like about Ruby is she's a mature woman. When she gets hold of you, you can feel a lifetime of experience in her. I find I'm going in more for that kind of woman these days. Here! Don't you dig your nails in again like you did last Thursday night. I got scratches all down my back.
Yeah, I may even do more than that to you today.
Yeah, great long wheels they are. Dug her nails right in. She's had 2 husbands, both dead. And I've got a good idea what they died of and all. She don't keep asking, do you love her, like all these young birds do. Do you know, she don't even mention love. She knows what she wants, and she's going to get it. If there's any going. Cheers.
Are there any questions from the people who've been watching this?
I have a question. If you're a novice is auditioning for film,
Yeah.
and you have a screen test, you're auditioning to a camera, what you were saying about, would you audition straight into the camera as if they say, do a monologue, or just
no,
speak to us?
they would ask you to audition straight to the camera.
So straight
They
into
might
the lens.
do it, but it's highly unlikely. Most screen tests are done with another actor, not necessarily the great star who won't come down because you're a novice, but someone, they'll hire an actor they'll put it on you like this, and then they'll do a close-up, and they make you turn sideways, and then they'll say, here is a scene, and they'll pick one of the more difficult dialogue scenes from the picture, and then you'll do this scene with the other actor off, the back of the head actor. And they will judge you from that, because you cannot judge by looking at someone and saying, oh, she'll be great on screen. Nobody knows what it is, but until you see the person on screen and they start to do their work, you don't know what's going to happen. And something happens to some fortunate people, and everyone wants to look at them, and that's it. That's what happens. And you'll see all those old screen tests. Sometimes they show them. Marilyn Monroe and James Dean. They're not that hot because most screen tests show fear. I know mine did. My screen test for Zulu, the director came up to me at a party on the Saturday night after I'd done it on the Friday, and he said to me, that was the worst goddamn screen test I ever saw in my life. So I thought, oh, that's all right, I haven't got it. So he said, but you got the part, because we're leaving on Monday and we can't find anybody. That's Cy Enfield. But usually I was petrified. But Stanley Baker, who's a very kind man, did my screen test with me. He came there, even though he was the star and the producer and everything. Is there another question from someone?
Well, I was just going to ask, if it's easy, if you've been on a film for a great length of time, but if you're just an actor who's just doing like one scene, and you're there for 2 days, and you arrive on the location, and it's the night before, and you're in your hotel room, and you've been given your scene to do, what do you do for that night before to actually prepare for the following morning? Apart from just learning the lines.
You've learnt the lines, we assume.
Yeah.
I go through and do exactly the performance over and over again, exactly what I'm going to do. I rearrange the furniture, I get the things in the right place, I put out the cups and saucers or whatever it is, you know, and time the dialogue, when I put that down, because as I was telling you about continuity, you can screw yourself up with props all the time. But the hardest thing to do on a movie is to come in once the movie's been on for a while, because you're standing there, you don't know anybody, everybody's saying, good morning, Charlie, how are you? Get me a cup of tea. Hello, Mr. The star comes on, he's usually a pain in the neck, you know, a bit conceited, and it doesn't talk to you because you've only got a small part. And I've done this, and you stand there and you're nerve-wracked. And you know, and especially if there's a whole big scene goes on, and then you've got the last line. You may only have one line. You know, and the cavalry comes down the hill, and all the beach explodes, you know, and you say, quick, the Germans are crumbing. And everybody goes, oh, shit. One line, one goddamn, who got this guy? Who brought the casting director comes in and says, what's the matter? He said, guy can't say one line. But you're standing here, you're saying, Jesus, is all those troops coming over? It'll take 2 hours to put the explosives back in. Then the great star says his great long speech, absolutely perfectly. And you go, the Germans are coming. Can we, and then always the actor says, can we post-sync that? Would it be all right to do and the guy goes, no. You've got to do it again. And that's the hardest thing to do, to be a one-day actor.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson, Sydney is bursting with creative ideas about your play. I've never seen him so enthusiastic.
This young man has written a play. He's an unknown playwright. He sent it to a famous playwright. This famous playwright is on the downward path. He's had nothing but flop plays, and he's really written out. And the young man's play is brilliant. And what he's done is arranged that he is going to take the young man's play and kill him. And the wife is watching this and trying to talk him out of killing him. But what the plot actually is this. These two are homosexual lovers and have set this up in order to get rid of the wife.
And it's very wrong of you to have offered to give it to him. I'm the one in this household whose eye is on the checkbook. I'm going to make a suggestion to you, Sydney. It's going to come as a shock to you, but I want you to give it your grave and thoughtful and earnest consideration. Will you do that? Will you promise to do that for me? Put aside the play you're working on. Yes? Put aside the play about Helga Tendorp and how she finds murderers and keys under clothes dryers. Put it aside, Sydney, and help Mr. Anderson with his play. Collaborate with him. That's what I'm suggesting. That's what I think is the fair and sensible and rational thing to do. Deathtrap by Clifford Anderson and Sidney Bruhl.
Put aside the drowning wife.
I thought it was frowning.
Frowning. Well, how much can I move this? Sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
That's
you're
all
right.
right.
Just do it naturally.
Put aside the drowning
Don't
wife.
feel. No, that's
Yeah,
terrible thing in the
thing.
process. Don't feel restricted.
Just a- yeah.
Yeah, but if you can do that, yeah. Frowning? What do you mean frowning? It's the drowning one.
Yeah.
Who ever heard of a title? It's
Yeah.
Groucho Marx.
Yeah.
Who ever heard of a title?
Frowning wife,
Yeah, it's the silliest thing I ever heard.
Drowning. Put aside the drowning wife.
I thought it was frowning.
Frowning. What kind of title would that be? The drowning wife.
It will keep, Sydney. People are always interested in psychics who can point at someone and say, that man murdered that man. Put it aside, Sydney, please. Do for Mr. Anderson what George S. Kaufman did for you.
Well, that's a very persuasive speech, Myra, and obviously very sincerely felt, though how it must have sounded to Clifford.
Wow, I suddenly feel as if I'm on the spot.
You are. Myra has put you there. As a matter of fact, she's put us both there.
Oh, Sydney, I just felt I should bring it up now.
May I just say, first of all, I'm overwhelmed, really honored and staggered that Sidney Bruhl would actually consider the idea of putting aside one. I mean, there I was in that theater when I was 12 years old, and who would think that someday I'd be standing here weighing up
You get
the
the
chance
gist of this passage?
But the thing is, it's as if I went to a doctor, one of these world's leading specialists, and he recommended major surgery.
Can I just say something? When he says, let me just sit there for a second here. Let me show you something. Watch that monitor there. You say to me about the speech about when I was 12 years old.
Yeah. I mean, who would think that I'd be sitting in that theater aged 12 years old and that someday I would have the opportunity to be standing...
Yes, we get the gist of the... You see what I mean? I reacted to 12 years old. You know, he's saying, you know, but you saw me do it, and I did it in movie terms, and because they could see the monitor, they laughed at it, which is what it's there for, you know. It's, do it again.
I mean, there I was, sitting in that theater aged 12 years old, and who would think that someday I'd be standing here...
We get the gist of the message, Clifford. You know, now he's sitting there a bit teed off about it. You know, not only is she having a go at him, the lover's coming up with... You know what I mean? So I want to see that pass over your face, you know.
You have to listen very carefully to every goddamn thing he says, because you don't know what the hell he's going to say.
Yeah.
You know? And he could drop you in it now.
Yeah.
With one wrong word, he could give the game away to her.
Right.
And you've got her on the other side not cooperating properly.
Can I just say something about that? Because just you've got quite get mobile on that. Is that if when you've got the camera on you like that and it's that close up and you're concerned about the camera?
Yeah, I
and
tell you what.
is there,
No, you don't worry about
listening, and listening, and also is in the end you kind of think, well, oh, and so the face gets like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's
Because
that's why I stopped you. Your face went like that.
No, I know.
Yeah. You started to get frozen
That's
into
right.
that. But you see, put it on me. Now I'm in this close up, right? So I'm listening, but I mean I can't go like that, and I can't go like that.
No.
But I can go.
Yeah.
And I can use my eyes because I'm looking at him, and he says 12 years old, and you go to Celia. Yes, we get the gist of it, Clifford. You know, and I'm quite free within that framework,
Yes,
aren't I?
yeah.
But I can't go like that, you know. And if you were in a situation where it's what you did there, you froze, which is why I stopped it and said, let's. If you're in that situation, then you say to the director, how much freedom have I got in here?
Yes,
and if he says, well, it's only a stair and it's this close and you can't move an inch, you know, because the man's coming towards you with a knife and I want to get this, then you can't move, you know?
Yeah.
And you can't go,
No.
you've got it, but within this framework, it's okay. And the director will accommodate you on that. I mean, any director would. You know, you say, well, don't freeze in there, Ian. You say, well, I don't feel like I can move. You can move in this frame. Do that speech again to him, Clifford.
So it's best to ask really what.
Yeah, you see,
Always.
everybody is there to get the greatest performance from you that you've ever given. Everyone will help. The electrician up there, he will go scrambling along there and get that light absolutely right so that there's a glint in your eye. Everything is done for you. Everything to help you do it right, because it is bloody difficult. And everyone knows it. I just think of some of the more serious side of movie making, which might not have occurred to you. One day you're going to be in a studio, and a man called the special effects man is going to come up. And he's going to say, well, he said, you stand here, he says, and on action, that wall will be blown out. But don't worry about it because it'll go that way. He said, the roof will come down, but don't worry about it because that will go that way. He said, the floor will open up and you'll fall into some water and there's a shark in there, but don't worry about it because we've taken all his teeth out. It says, and then as you crawl out of the water, a poisonous snake will crawl up your trouser leg. But don't worry about it because we got an expert from the zoo and he's just milked it. And what you say to him, you say, Mr. Special Effects Man, let me see you do it first. And he will say to you, we haven't got the time. You know, it's 20 past 12. I mean, if we got that by the time we get to do it, I'd do it, you know, I'd willingly do it, but I've got to reset the charge, I've got to get the snake out of my trousers leg, put it back, got to put the roof back on the thing. He said, so, you know, I mean, it's going to cost £15,000 to do this. In time, it's going to take all afternoon to reset, you know, otherwise I'd do it. And you look at him and you say, you do it first. Always have it demonstrated to you, exactly what you're supposed to do. Any more?
You have to do quite an intimate scene with somebody that you've never ever met before. How important is it to sort of get to know them or to feel relaxed before you film that? Say you only meet them the day before.
Well,
I mean, do you think it's important to kind of go out and have a meal together and get to know each other so
no,
that you...
no. I think that way lies disaster.
Yeah.
You know, because you're liable to start the intimacy the night before. Which is disaster in movies as well, you know, because then halfway through the picture you split up, you're not talking to each other, and then you've got the real romantic stuff to do. No, you don't. I find that the thing to do is to be extremely professional about the whole thing. In as much as this is a job, this is what we're doing, and the fact that we're lying naked in bed, we never met each other before, you know, and I mean, you're very rarely naked, but I mean, you're getting some intimate love positions, you know, kissing people you've never met. Provided it's done. I mean, what I do is I joke about it a lot so that the female side of it, of the thing, is never under the impression that I'm getting off on it on a freebie or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it's also another thing that I do. I always carry a little thing of mouth spray, you know? And just before a love scene, just in case, because you don't know, in case anybody has sort of breath problems, I always go, shh, shh. And the actress says, "What's that?" I say, "Have a taste."
Very good.
That gets over that one. And I always say, well, look, I smoke cigars, you know, so I always do this because it tastes if we have a kiss each other, you know. He says, "Oh, what's it taste like?" I go.
That's the other thing I was going to ask you is what makes you decide to do a film if you get a script and read it? What is it about it that will make you?
Is it different from the last one I did? And I mean, what's the part like for me? Is it any kind of challenge? Yeah. And under what circumstances is it being done? I mean, is it a little shoestring picture where we're all going to, you know, be sitting in mud huts in Tanganyika? Or, you know, are we going to be put up at the George Saint in Paris or something, you know? I look at those side of it now, because when you get older, you do look at those comfort things a bit. I mean, when you're nuts, when you're young, I mean, I spent 26 weeks in the Philippine jungle, you know, which when we got back, you know, we could have shot it in the tropical garden at Kew. Because all it was looking out behind a load of palm leaves, you know, I mean, and they were all there. Because in the jungle, you can't see the sky, you can't see the scenery. I mean, you just see, could have sent a second unit.
Yes. If you've got a very emotional scene with someone else and it's your close-up, would you always insist on the person you're acting with being behind the camera?
No, I don't. I mean, I will let them go home. I can do it to the wall, it doesn't matter. The only thing is when you get the continuity girl going, "I love you, darling, but I have been unfaithful. I hope you will forgive me." And you're going, "Oh, no, please." That's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, how many times in your career have you found that people employed you to pull a film through?
As a leading actor in movies, you're employed to carry the picture. You know, everyone says, "Oh, did you see that character actor came in and stole that scene off of you yesterday?" I say, thank God for that. At least there's 5 minutes I'm not responsible for. Because you are paid, really, to pick a picture up on the first day of shooting, put it on your shoulders, and take it to the end. Any more?
Would you like to direct?
I suppose eventually, but what happens is when you're an actor, you get a script and you say, "This part isn't big enough." And so they say, "Oh, we write it all up for you." And then they write it all up and you say, "Jesus Christ, I'm working every day." That's what happens. And I suddenly thought, the director works 3 months before the picture starts and 4 months after it's ended. In the period that a director does a picture, an actor like me who works a great deal will have done 4, you know? And so there's an economic reason for me not becoming a director. We're going to do Educating Rita now. And I always remember I came over and I saw the play, and I was in Los Angeles, and I had a picture to do with Sally Field, who just won the Oscar. And they said to me, what are you going to, you going to do the picture with Sally Field? I said, no. They said, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to do something called Educating Rita. And everybody said, what the hell is that? So I said, it's a play that's on in London and it's been turned into a film. And they said, well, who else is in it? I said, a girl called Julie Walters. They said, who the hell is Julie Walters? And I said, well, she's very good and she's in the play and she's going to do the movie. And I'm going to do it with her. He said, but, and they said, well, Educating Rita, that's, must be about Rita. He said, what are you playing? I said, I play a guy called Frank. He said, well, you should be doing a picture called Educating Frank if you're going to be a star in this picture. And in actual fact, seeing the play, the theatre being... the theatre is acting, and here's a supreme example of it. Inasmuch as when you see Educating Rita, you look at Rita most of the time because Frank is sitting down or pissed, or drunk, I mean, and she moves, she comes in all the time, she talks, and you only look at him when he speaks, which isn't as often as she does. But also, the difference between film and theatre was heightened here, was explained here, in as much as it's acting in the theatre, so you look at Rita. But in the movie, you have to cut to Frank for his reaction, otherwise what she did has no meaning. And if there's one thing that I can do in movies is react. And that's kind of where a movie actor earns his living.
I know, I wouldn't have understood it then, Frank.
You would have thrown it across the room and dismissed it as total shit, wouldn't you?
I know, but I couldn't have understood it then, because I wouldn't have been able to understand and recognise the illusions.
Oh, I've done a fine job on you, haven't I, Rita?
Oh, it's true, Frank. I can see now.
You know, from now on, I'm going to change, like you, I'm going to change my name. From now on, I shall insist upon being known as Mary. Mary Shelley. Do you understand that allusion, Rita?
What?
Mary Shelley, she wrote a little Gothic number called Frankenstein.
So?
This clever pyrotechnical pile of self-conscious illusion is worthless, talentless shit. There is more poetry in the telephone directory and probably more insight. Its one advantage over the telephone directory is that it's easier to rip. It is pretentious, characterless, and totally without style.
It's not.
Oh, I don't expect you to believe me. Of course, you understand the hallmark of literature now, don't you? Why don't you just go away and leave me alone? Don't think I can bear it any longer.
Can't bear what, Frank?
You, my dear. You.
Cut. Now we're going to a close-up. We want to go from... I'll tell you what you can't bear. Did you get up at all there?
I did before.
Yeah, well, get up.
All right,
get up, he'll
yeah.
follow you. He knows
Right.
all about. When are you going to get up? Tell him.
Can't bear... I'll tell you what you... Yeah.
Another
I'll tell
trick.
you what you can't.
Another trick
Yeah.
that I haven't told you. Let me... This is what happens to the cameraman when you don't know. I'll tell you what you can't bear. I've gone right up out of it. Take him up with you, you see. Look. I'll tell you what you can't bear. You see, he hasn't got a hernia now. You understand? That's another thing to remember, honestly. The number of actors who go, I tell you, and the guy's going. So take him up with you. Go,
I don't think I can bear it any longer.
Can't bear what, Frank?
You, my dear. You.
Let me see. I didn't see that in your eyes.
All right.
He said,
You. Yeah.
you can't bear what, Frank? And he said, you, my dear, you. That's one of the most hurtful things anybody ever said to you. And it doesn't result in you crying.
Anger.
Because you are what you're like, anger comes. That's why we get this next speech.
Yeah.
Because no one said as hurtful, anything as hurtful as that to you. Certainly not him. Let me see it in your eyes.
Right.
The sudden hurt and then the anger.
I don't think I can bear it any longer.
Can't bear what, Frank?
You, my dear. You.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what you can't bear, Mr. Self-pitying piss artist. What you can't bear is that I'm educated now. I've got what you've got, and you don't like it. I don't need you. I've got a room full of books. I know what clothes to wear, what wine to buy, what plays to see, what books and papers to read. I can do without you.
Is that all you wanted? Have you come so far for so Very, very little.
Oh, yeah. It's little to you, isn't it? It's little to you who squanders and mocks every opportunity and takes everything for granted.
Found a culture, have you, Rita? Found a new song to sing? No, you found a different song, that's all. And on your lips, it's shrill and hollow and tuneless. Oh, Rita. Rita.
Rita? Nobody calls me Rita but you. I dropped that pretentious crap as soon as I saw it for what it was. Rita? Nobody calls me Rita.
Well, what is it now, then? Charlotte? Or Jane? Or Emily?
Lovely. See? You'll see that played back, you'll be amazed at the difference between when you started and when you cut that. And,
Yes.
and when he spoke to you, I saw on your face the hurt or the anger or the whatever you felt, and I could see it in just small things. Come round on you now.
Oh, I've done a fine job on you, haven't I, Rita?
It's true, Frank. I can see now.
You know, Rita, I think that, like you, I shall now change my name. From now on, I shall be known as Mary. Mary Shelley. Do you understand that allusion, Rita?
What?
She wrote a little Gothic number called Frankenstein.
So?
This clever, pyrotechnical pile of self-conscious illusion is worthless, talentless shit. There's more poetry in the telephone directory and probably more insight. Its one advantage over the telephone directory is that it's easier to rip.
Stop. Let me stop you. This speech. Take this speech. Let me sit there again. I want to see someone who's slightly pitiful character. He's not really in control of everything. And he's trying to keep his head straight, which wants to go. But he's got to keep his head, because the last thing he's going to do is show this woman that he's drunk. And it's a rather pitiful character listening to her. And drunks don't react fast. There's something in the way that you sit isn't drunk, Ian. You don't go like this, but there's just, it's just, if a normal man sat down in the armchair, he'd sit like this, say, hello, how are you? And it, yes, you've got a difference. But a drunk is very small. And this character is, suddenly I'm a foot shorter and slightly pitiful. I've only moved about 2 inches. You're still going too fast. Still. You can read it if you like.
No, I know it.
If you wait, but forget about it, you know. But it's this clever pyrotechnical pile of self-conscious illusion is worthless, talentless shit. And could be recognised as such by anybody with a shred of common sense. It's the sort of thing that gives publishing a bad name. Wit. You will find more wit in the telephone book. The only advantage this has over the telephone book is that it is easier to rip. It is pretentious, characterless, and without style.
It's not.
Oh, I don't expect you to believe me, Rita. You recognise the hallmark of literature now, don't you? Why don't you just go away? I don't think I can bear it any longer.
Can't bear what, Frank?
You, Rita. You. You understand what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Slower. Take it easy, Ian. Listen, and then feel everything.
Do you think, then, on film acting, and the difference between film and stage is you do take your time much more on film?
Yeah, because you can do things, you see, which people can't see. I mean, if I'm doing that, is there a camera on me at the moment? Yeah, is there? All I've got to do is go. And that's a big movement. You go, what did he do? What happened there? Someone's coming. You know, you create tension. Just do that.
Right.
Or that. Nothing. But slower and think about it, yeah? We go from... Get it up from here. Get it up from here. This clever pyrotechnical part of circles. Go from there. I'll tell you, let's go in a close-up now on this. Go right in close.
This clever pyrotechnical pile of self-conscious illusion is worthless, talentless shit. There's more poetry in the telephone directory and probably more insight. Its one advantage over the telephone directory is that it's easier to rip. It is pretentious, characterless, and totally without style.
It's not.
Oh. I don't expect you to understand me. Of course, you understand the hallmark of literature now, don't you? Why don't you just go away and leave me alone? Don't think I can bear it any longer.
Can't bear what, Frank?
You, Rita. You.
That's much better. Much better. See the speed? It's come right down.
It's easier
And
in a way.
it's easy. I told you.
Yeah.
I told you.
I mean, it's in a, yeah.
Movie acting is relaxation. It's easy. If you are knocking yourself out, you're doing it wrong.